What's good, everybody? It's your boy Sunny, and I'm back again with another episode of Sunny Talks. And on today's episode, we got a returning guest. We got Shotgun Mike Hostettler. Stetler. Stetler or Stetler?
Stetler. It's like hot
Hot settler.
settler,
Hot settler.
but you make it Hostettler.
We got the hot
yeah,
shotgun guy in here, man.
exactly. It's a whole thing. I just didn't want to have to yeah. Yeah, it was just easier than coming up with a clever name and yeah.
What's up, bro? How's it going, man?
Oh good, what's going on with you?
Good, good. Can't complain. Can't complain. Well, so all right,
Yeah.
let me do let me do the whole intro. Well,
Okay,
Mike,
okay.
so on this channel, well, you've been on the show already, but on
Yes.
this channel, we basically like to talk about people's lives, work our way up from the beginning up to the present day or whatever.
Oh yeah. Oh, you go
Yeah,
to the present day.
yeah. But before we get into all of that, let the people
Yes.
know who you are, what you do, and where they can find you.
All that stuff. Well, sure, why not? I like to be kind of, Oh, well, who I am. I guess I am the host of the Shotgun Mike Hostettler show, which is Shotgun Mike Hostettler. So that's kind of self-explanatory. And I guess you can find it wherever. You can also go to hunchbunny.com, and that's just as difficult to spell as Hostetler. So that's my whole thing. I'm all about anti-marketing. The thing is everyone wants to go out there and they're all selling themselves and they're just throwing it in everyone's faces. No, I feel like that's disrespectful. I respect my audience too much. I want them to really have to work hard to get to anything that I'm creating. But that's just, of course, that's the
That's
kind
part
of
of the
sarcasm you'll hear if you listen to the show.
Yeah, yeah. So you purposely send them on Easter egg hunts.
What's that?
I said you purposely send them on Easter egg hunts.
Exactly. It's just like an Easter egg hunt. Exactly. It's like a little hidden treasure here and there, I guess, or that kind of thing. That was always kind of the fun of I don't know, learning about new things, just stumbling across it, I guess. So you never know. I just stumbled across a movie I never heard of. It was called Abby, and it's actually uh, uh, a black version of Exorcist. So
Oh,
much so that Exorcist sued them, and they had to pull it from theaters. But it's great. It's got William, the guy who played Blackula, in it. It's a really good movie, and I never knew it existed, and it's amazing. It's an amazing piece of cinema. It made $4 million before they pulled it out of cinemas because it was really good. Yeah, it's on YouTube, everybody. So
yeah, I'll have to check that out. So you said Abby is called?
it's called Abby, and she's the girl. She's the Linda Blair girl. But it's really good. Yeah, yeah, it's kind of like independent-ish kind of. It's
Okay.
70s. 70s were good movies. 70s was a good era for movies. Okay, but
Yep.
yeah. And so anyway, that's what's going on with me. Oh, so what do I do? Yeah, I do this podcast, and I also do other stuff because that's the thing. I've branched out too. I've now got my vast catalog of music. I've settled all the lawsuits, and my vast catalog of music is now available on various streaming platforms and whatnot. So
What
you can,
lawsuits? What's going on?
yeah, it's all kinds of stuff. It's all kinds of stuff from when I was just a little kid who was goofing off in my mom's basement to just my weird modern day
But what, like
experimental
sampling issues?
electronic music. What's that there?
Sampling issues?
Some say, well, no, I don't worry about that. It's all fair use. I always fair use it. And what I say is, I alter it enough. There's tricks I got. What you could do is this. You can take something, you record it onto a cassette tape. You got to get a cassette player, got a cassette recorder, record onto that. It erases the digital
Mm,
coding. Then just slow it down a little bit, not enough so you can really hear it, and then you play it, and then it won't be identifiable by an automatic identifier. Bam. I dare the copyright lawyers to go after you. No, I'm just joking. Don't anybody do that, but
yeah. No one follow his
no,
advice, please.
yeah, it's not on my advice. But no, no, yes, no, it's all copyright and written. I don't buy that. I don't ever, yeah. Yeah, it's funny. That's something I've been actually kind of looking into a lot lately because there's a lot of a lot of gray areas in that nowadays.
Mhm.
So yeah. But yeah, but that's all I've been doing. And then I also yeah, nothing else really. I've just been hanging out and living
Okay.
life to the fullest. And when's the last time I talked to you? It was last year or something, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's see. I have I think that was August last year,
Yeah.
August. Hmm.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was right before. I think, yeah. Yeah, that was a weird time.
Yeah, I think you weren't I think you were taking a break from everything. You weren't
I was
doing
taking a
much.
break from everything. Oh,
Yeah.
I'm not taking a break from everything anymore.
Okay.
Uh,
Good.
but so I no, it's not good. I mean, oh, I look
You
back at
wish you
those
had breaks.
breaks. Those were good. I don't like working, but
All right. Okay, so Mike,
yeah,
so for the people that haven't heard your last episode,
yeah.
where were you born and raised?
I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan. That is where I was born and raised, and then I lived there. I went to Wayne State University for a little while. Well, I went there. And then I moved to Los Angeles, California, and I worked in the film industry for about 10 years out there, as well as other things. I was a sushi chef for a little while, sushi clerk. Can't say say sushi chef because it's a union violation. I
Oh
wasn't
yeah?
in the union. I was a
How
sushi
so?
clerk because I was making the sushi, but I was not in the union, so I couldn't say I was a sushi clerk, or I couldn't say I was a sushi chef. I could only say I was a sushi clerk. And to be fair, I didn't really know what I was doing. I had a sushi chef show me how to do it, and I learned how to do it. I only did it for like 3 months, and then
Got
I
back
moved
on
on
it.
to something else.
Yeah.
I think I got a job painting walls or something.
Much more
But then I
fulfilling.
did sound on a lot of movies. I did sound on a lot of movies, a lot of movies. I'm on the IMDb, if the people have that. So I did that, and I worked with such luminaries as everyone from Steve Gutenberg to Kevin Hart to I worked on the Dr. Phil show for a little while and things like that, which was yeah, I just moved out to California. I didn't have a dime to my name. I met some girl who said she was related to somebody that lived out there, and we moved out there. And
Oh
yeah,
yeah, I remember that story. She rest in
yeah, it
peace. She
was
ended up
rough.
passing away. Yeah.
He passed away. Yeah, that was the sad part. But before then, it was a nightmare. Trust me, she got the better end of the deal. No, I'm just joking. It's a tough, it's a tough town. Tough, or
Yeah.
maybe. Who knows? Who knows what it's like nowadays? It's all probably different now. Yeah, it's funny. Everything's different. But now, yeah, and that was what's been going on. But now it's all, now it's just, now I got a job where I'm I work in courthouses, doing the audio recordings,
Nice, nice.
setting it up. So I travel all over going to these
So you work for this
courtrooms.
the state of what? Where are you
I
located
don't
right
work
now?
for a state. That's just it. I work for a company that works all over. So I'm
Okay.
always flying everywhere. I'm flying to the Upper Peninsula of Michigan on Sunday. I'm going to
Mm,
be right across the lake from Canada.
okay.
Like it snowed up there last week. I don't know where you are, but it's not snowing where I'm at.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm in New York. Well, New Jersey right now.
You just,
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay.
yeah, yeah. I'm just floating around. I'm like in Columbus, Ohio.
Well, so
Well,
please let's take it back a little bit before we get
yeah.
into all of your
All the
work and
crazy
all the
adventures I've
crazy
had.
stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
you got to
because
hear this stuff. But
one
okay.
of the main ones I want to hear about, even though we spoke on it last time, but your buddy's been in the news as of recent. I think you know what I'm talking about. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, he's been gone. Even though I know you said it was you will see him here and there. It was when you had a short, brief stay in I think it was what upstate New York.
yes. Oh,
Yeah,
see, that's very funny you should say that. Yeah, no, that is very interesting. That's very interesting. Well, I'll tell you the funny thing about that is I don't know if I told you the thing. Did I bring up the? Yeah, yeah. No, that was weird. Yeah, I'm assuming we're talking about.
Puff Daddy.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel bad
Yeah.
even saying it. I know it's a weird thing. That is a weird thing. That's a really weird thing. I gotta say, let me just say, when I mean, I don't know what can you say. I mean,
Say it.
it's
Just say what you gotta say,
no,
man.
because it's all good. It's all good. He was cool. He was cool. He was funny. I've only dealt with him twice, and the first time I barely even dealt with him. I dealt with his people. I went down to Daddy's house down in Manhattan, which was really nice. They let me in, and I got to hang out and get a little tour and all that. And then me and one of the engineers there drove back to the studio, and two of his musicians, a guy, I think it might have been one guy, just came up and he laid down music tracks for tracks that he then used as his backing tracks for his live show. It's a
Mm.
whole thing he did. But he would do things like, for example, we had like Biggie Smalls master tapes that they were remixing into this show. So it was kind of a cool thing, but it was all very cool. They were all very nice. They were very cool, very professional. There were no women involved, and we were all, yeah. Everyone was very. But it's funny because when I did go down there, I had to talk to somebody on the phone, and it was upstate New York, and that's kind of like, I don't know, like kind of, it's a weird area. And they said, "Oh, don't be shocked when you come down here because you're going to come into this door and there's going to be a very large man who's going to have to frisk you and let you in. And when you get back there, there might be some women who aren't dressed that much and there might be the smell of marijuana. And we just don't want you to worry about that," which was so
Yeah.
weird because I thought, dude, what the fuck? It's like, so I actually said, I'm from Detroit and I've met George Clinton and blah, blah, blah. And they were like, "Oh, don't worry." Then they were really nice. But it was really fun. So I went down there, but it was like a place where it was like a party atmosphere. And it was like, I'm not saying there was anything bad going on. I never saw witnessed anything bad. Everyone was having a good time and everyone seemed to be there of their own free will.
Mhm.
So it was really nice and it was fun, but again, it was work. They were at the heyday of that era when he was doing, like, he was at his peak. And so they were busy. They had, like, I think like four studios that were all working at all times with all these
Mhm.
artists he was dealing with and all these remixes he was doing. And
Mhm.
so he was crazy. It was cool. So that's the thing. It's a weird thing. You get to that, and then but then again, you get to the whole thing because it's funny because something else, I don't know if I even mentioned it last time. When I first moved to where I currently am, I got a job doing freelance audio at a country club. And one of the first jobs I had to do was setting up the audio for an event they were throwing for, is it Jeffrey Epstein? Was that his name? Jeffrey,
Oh
right?
shit.
Yeah, there you go. So these sexual perverts, or predators, they're all around me. It's amazing they haven't roped me in yet. They would think, I would think they would see me and think, hey, look at this guy. He's up there with.
Wait, so sorry, I missed it. So how were you involved with Jeff? Not involved
It
with,
was
but
nothing. It was nothing. It was what it was they would have events where it was extremely rich people get together. These events were being thrown for him by, and if I get into legal trouble here, we'll deal with that later. But they were being thrown for him by Les Wexner
oh,
or Wes Lexner. I can't remember which one.
the name sounds familiar. Yes.
Yes, he owns Victoria's Secret and
Oh shit.
Bed Bath and Beyond and all that shit. Limited. He owns all that stuff, and then yeah, and he's based in Ohio, and it's crazy. So anyway, yeah, it was basically a party for him. I actually met him at that place. He was very nice. He was a very nice
Who,
guy.
Jeffrey Epstein himself?
Les Wexner. I didn't meet
Okay.
Jeffrey Epstein. That would have been weird. And I don't hang in that crowd.
Hmm.
And no, never. If anything, yeah.
And so the parties were thrown by Lex Wexner for, or Wex Lexner for
Yeah.
Jeffrey Epstein himself.
Yes. This
And what
was
you were,
one
and
event.
you, so you work one event and what
Well,
you
what it
took,
was I set up the sound. I set it up
okay.
so if somebody was doing a speech or whatever,
Yeah,
yeah, and it was a stupid thing. I was, yeah, it's a low
and
point in my career.
working these events. Like, take me back to this event. Like, what's everything you remember from this day? Like, you gotta take me back.
Well, it's not good because it's going to be me saying I I was new to this area. I've got a brother that lives out here, and I was staying with him, and I was doing some work. I was thinking of moving here, and I got this job at this country club, and I didn't know anything about it. It was New Albany Country Club. New Albany Country Club is in Ohio, and it's super ritzy and fancy. Now, when I was in high school, I worked at the Hillcrest Country Club in Mount Clemens, Michigan, and that wasn't as hoity-toity as some places, but it was good. So I knew what I was doing. And here I was doing events, setting up sound. So they'd have an event where, like a wedding, uh, and I would set it up where there'd be the sound system the DJ could plug into or whatever you got, and then set up the microphone so they can do the toasts and all that.
Hmm.
Just setting that up. It's super simple. It's the kind of thing that anybody, if they took the time to watch a YouTube video, could learn how to do.
Hmm.
So it's good. I got to work. But so I did that. And I had no idea who these people were, but they kept saying Les Wexner, or Wes Lexner. I'll look it up later. But they kept talking about him, and I was like, who gives a shit about this guy? I've never
Yeah,
heard
that's enough
about
like
him.
this review.
And plus the thing too is not to be all Mr. Big Shot, but I'd lived in LA where I'd be in the grocery store in line behind, James Woods or Quentin Tarantino or something. It's like, who gives a shit who this guy is?
Yeah.
So it was weird to hear them say that. And it was also weird because I don't know. I don't know if it was because it was a country club, but I thought, man, they just kissed this guy's ass. Who gives a shit? So then they were like Jeffrey Epstein. Oh, this one. Uh,
And this is
the
the
guy who's
staff,
my
and this is that
supervisor.
staff, then this is the staff
What's that?
rumble, and this is the staff like
Well, what
mentioning
it
these
is I
things.
would go in and set up the
Mhm.
sound. And while I was doing that, the other people would be setting up tables and stuff. And I would help them a lot sometimes. Sometimes I would need to borrow tables or whatever. We would help each other. I've done that stuff. And it was a good way to, all help each other out. But yeah, they were all excited and they were, Jeffrey Epstein's going to be here. and I had no idea who that was. And then it was such an important event that my supervisor had come in to help
Mm,
set it up because it had to be good. I wasn't expert enough for this one.
mm.
Again, even though it was like one microphone that anybody who, yeah. So,
So
um,
there weren't any secret microphones around.
no, God,
Okay.
no. Well, that was the other funny thing. It was Jeffrey Epstein. I didn't even know. And then I was like, well, what has he done? And he's like, oh, well, he's friends with so and so. And he had done nothing. I was like waiting to hear, oh, he invented the iPod or something, but it was nothing like that. It was like, oh, he's friends with this and that, and he knows Bill Clinton, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was weird. I think actually at the time, yeah, it's funny because at the time, this would have been right around the time, I believe it would have been right around the time Donald Trump became president, like right when he became president.
Mm.
So
So it was
that's
fairly
what it
recent.
was. Yeah, so that's what it was. Oh, it's Jeffrey Epstein. He's friends with Trump. And it was a big deal and it was all exciting. But again, I didn't know anything about him. And I just couldn't care. Like, I don't know. I'm just not into that. So it's kind of funny because they did really get into him, and but it was weird. And then I ended up leaving that job because it was a strange job. They hired me real quick. They hired me to be full time with all these benefits, amazing benefits. I worked 10 hours a week, which I loved. But they were like, "We can't keep you on. You make so much in benefits that it's not worth our time." So they kind
So
of let
why,
me
what the
go
fuck? So why you offer it?
because they fucked up exactly. I'll tell you, that's the thing. I don't know if I gotta say this. Like, I've worked in a lot of areas where very wealthy people are in that, either running things or the clientele or whatever, and they just don't give a shit about anything because any problem you get, they just throw money at it. So you go to a place like this place where these people, they had, for example, their membership was, I forget, the one guy was a big NBA guy. I don't know. All I know is that he lived in the neighborhood and there was a city ordinance where you couldn't have a basketball net in your driveway. And he was NBA, and him and his lawyer took it to the city, and they got it. So that was like, it was a real hoity-toity, like Dave Thomas, the Wendy's guy. He's a member of this country club. He's dead
Okay.
now, but it was those kind of people, and the people that own, those kind of people, the
All right.
evil people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm joking. The very rich people.
Okay. So
Say,
during your time though, what was like was like the Jeffrey Epstein party like the height of your experience at this particular establishment?
well, it's funny because I'll tell you what happened. Like I said, they came to me saying, "You're not your benefits. You're getting too much in benefits." But what they said at first was, we've got this other job. What you could do at night is we have a van and we have a cafe, and you would do these deliveries for this cafe we have. It would just be in this real small, like, it was a very upscale gated community type area. So this is the area that's out in the middle of nowhere, blah, blah, blah. And you'll just be dealing with these people, and I know you're a sound guy and whatever, but the tips are amazing, they said. And they were. It was like $100 minimum a night.
But at
So
that
just in
point,
tips.
your prior salary was cut off, and they put you on a
No,
new.
no, that's just the beauty of it. That was the beauty of it. They really sold it to me. I kind of had them over a barrel in a good way. And I was happy to do it. The downside was this. And I don't want to sound like some kind of like asshole, but I would do these deliveries, and these deliveries were to the upper crust, and they were very. It was interesting because I got to deliver to these people who, one of them was Les Wexner or Wes Lexner, who was very nice and he was very pleasant. And he had just came home from an event and he was had his tie all undone and he ordered a pizza because he said he had to skip dinner and he was just the most normal guy alive ordering a pizza. So it was things like that. That being said, he could fucking like, you know, do
Yeah.
whatever he feels like. And it's one of those things where, he could squash me like a bee if he wanted. So it was weird. And the thing is what happened was, so the other side of it. So I met a lot of interesting people that way because I get to go to their homes. They'd have a lot of regulars. You'd get their children who would be these spoiled brats. You get artists. There was a songwriter up there. So things like that. But the downside was this. They said, when you're not doing these deliveries, making these amazing tips that we are not making here at the restaurant, you have to wash the dishes. And that was the part where it's no big deal, right? I don't mind that really. Thing is this. I've washed dishes all my life. When I was 13 years old, I got a job at Hillcrest Country Club washing dishes. I had to get a work permit. My mom had to sign it, everything. So I've been washing dishes all my life. I have no problem doing that. But then it came to the point where like I had another job and I could do other stuff to make money and I thought, I just don't want to wash dishes. And I'm not saying that I'm better than washing dishes,
Yeah.
but at the time I thought I just don't want to wash dishes. Not to mention whoever got that job is going to get these $100 a night tips. So why not? And that's kind of and I think they were thrilled to have me go because I kind of had them over a barrel because I
Mhm.
got in on this contract where they thought I was going to be working 24/7 on all these wild parties they were going to be having. And then it turned out, I don't know what happened, honestly. I have no idea what happened.
They just
Again, that's the
never
thing with
called you
those.
back.
What's that?
They just never called you back.
No. I ended up quitting, but it was a thing where I started and I would show up and we would do these events and I would set up the microphones and I would set up microphones and I would do a sound test and whatever. I'd be like, okay, I'm all done. And they'd be like, oh, okay, well, that took 2 hours. We were hoping it was going to take 8 hours. And I guess you can help us organize this or this room where we keep our equipment, or it became like that. They were really stretching it to the point where they said your benefits, et cetera, do this delivery thing.
Mhm.
Which, at the time I was new to the area. I didn't know shit about Ohio. I felt like this was the sticks. I felt like I was in the Wild West. I felt like there's nobody out here. Anything goes. Like I could be parked somewhere and someone will shoot me dead. This is the Wild West. There's no law out here. It was crazy. So, I mean,
Was it
yeah,
actually like that though?
yeah, it's weird. These people are nightmarish. I'll tell you, I hate it. I know, yeah, I shouldn't say that. No offense to anybody who's listening in Ohio. I've lived in the worst areas of Detroit, Michigan, and I would much rather be there than out in these Hicks cunt cities and these meth capitals out in Ohio. Jesus, no, those people are crazy. Those people are, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the big thing out here is the meth,
Okay, that,
whatever they're
that's
doing.
that shit is a little too much though.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, so let's take it back a little bit because I know like your
Yeah.
childhood itself was like a little
Mm.
crazy too. I remember, like, can you touch on some of the topics you spoke on before? Like, I remember saying like, you said that your siblings were given away when you were young.
Oh, there you
And
go. That's a funny one. See, that's not even my youth. That's my whatever that would be.
oh yeah, because
My
you found out when you were
That's
older.
just it. Well, it's
Yeah.
funny. Yes. Yes, exactly. Well, that's a weird story. The story is this. And it's funny because a lot has changed since then. Not a lot. What it was this. Uh I came from a very meager family, I guess. My mom was a music teacher and she was divorced and we were raised in a single family. And it was okay. My dad was a present and he helped out. She was a little weird, to be fair. But, and she was, well, I shouldn't even, it doesn't really matter, but she was very Catholic. She's super Catholic. Like, I don't know if they make people Catholic like this anymore. And so, which is weird though, because they don't believe in premarital sex. So, point being is this. I had this mother, and I had a sister, and blah, blah, blah. And at one point, when my little sister, who was going on a date at the age of 12 or something, into a middle school dance, maybe, my mom told her this story to scare her out of premarital sex. Told her this story about how she got pregnant and gave a child away for adoption. So my sister said, "Well, you've got to give this child, you've got to find this child." She came to me, "We've got to find this child." I was like, "Why bother? I wish I was giving up for adoption." I was like the brooding 14-year-old at that point. I didn't care. So, no big deal. Fast forward to what I guess 10 years, we'll say, into the future, maybe, yeah, 15 years in the future. I'm living in Los Angeles. My mom calls me and says, "Yes, I've got a call. I got an answering machine message from somebody who said, this is so and so." And he used the name that he had when he was given up for adoption. I don't know why you would give a child being given up for adoption a name, but I guess you got to call something. So you can tell I'm really good with kids. But so she knew right away. He said the name. She's like, bam, this is the guy. So they got in touch. Funny thing is that he was adopted in the same area she was in when she had him. He was born and raised there. Um, we moved, he came up. I came back from LA to visit. We went to a Tiger game in Detroit, and we all met each other. We all became friends, started seeing each other at Thanksgiving. It was all real fun and interesting and nice. And I actually moved down here. I got offered a job down here. Excuse me. And I moved down here and got close to him. He's got two daughters who are great. They're like super cool. They're just fun girls, women, whatever. The one's getting old, but they're just cool. I thought, I don't have kids. Get close to family. Family's important. I don't have any. Let's see this. So did that. While I'm down here, we'll just go all cards out on the table. While I'm down here, this brother of mine and I go to an event with this mother of mine, and there's a heated exchange between me and my mother. She's kind of insane, like I alluded to earlier. She gets a little weird on me. We kind of have a little squabble. We
A
stop
physical
talking.
altercation or just a
No,
verbal
God, no,
yelling
no, no,
match?
God, no. I've never done that. No, no. What it was it was the stupidest thing ever. When we were young children, she had a cassette recorder and she recorded me and my sister talking. I took that from her and made a CD out of it because she's old fashioned. This was back when I was like, you know, this was a long time ago. I made a CD. In present day or relatively present day, I wanted to use that recording on a podcast. Again, plug in my podcast. My podcast is weird, trippy sounds and weird recordings that I find from various locations, sometimes from childhood recordings. I bought a used uh, tape player thingy at a Salvation Army. There was a cassette in it, got it out. It was an acting class rehearsing. Gold. So that's what's on my podcast. Anyway, getting back to this family thing. So we get the brother, everything's working out great. Me and my mother have this little altercation. No big deal. She's a little crazy. She's uh, she's crazy. At this point, I'm like, okay, let's give her some time. So we give her some time. About a year goes by, maybe too much time. Um, and my girlfriend and I are talking, and she's saying, "Oh, you should do this 23andMe thing." She thinks I'm all these various heritages that I'm not. A bunch of people did, and they were all wrong. So you never know.
Yeah.
You never believe it, but I'm 100% African American. See? I'm just joking. But no, I'm joking. But so the point is that we did all this. do this thing, do this 23andMe, right? Uh, and here's the thing I gotta say. My father, uh, his father, this would have been way back in the 50s and 60s or so. He had my father, this has been 50s, had my father, and then left my father and his two siblings and went to various locations. He ended up dying, and we ended up finding out that he had, we're guessing like 16 situations where he did that, where he found a woman, they would get married, they would have children, and then one day she would come home and he'd be gone.
Oh
He
shit.
was, yeah, he was a gambler. So, according to my grandmother, one day they'd come home, brand new Cadillac in the park, in the garage, brand new furniture in all of the rooms. Then sometimes they'd come home and there'd be no furniture in the house. And that's what an addictive gambler does. And the
Yeah.
thing they also do get is they get into trouble where people want to like break their legs and stuff. So they disappear. And that's what this guy did. He did this like 16 times. And so, and we've run into a few of them here and there because there's so many, which is great. Because again, I've had no family all my life. I got a mom, sister, and a dad, no one else, and a cousin. We're close, but no one else. And now it's like I got a sibling. So do 23andMe. Or I shouldn't say that. I do one of those services. I don't want to
Mhm.
plug them. And it turns out I have a sister. So it's weird. Why do I have a sister? Because it wasn't from my dad. They can't do it through the dads, I guess. It's through the eggs. That's how they do the DNA. I didn't know that. Unless your dad gives his DNA. My dad was dead. He couldn't do that. So it had to be my mom. So I say, hey, so this is years after, this is like 12 years after we've become best friends with Tom, my brother, who's my family now. And now all of a sudden it's saying I have a half sister who's just like my brother. I say half sister in the sense that, given
Yeah.
up for adoption. I only want to say to clarify because, and, and, but it's weird because thinking about this, I don't know. Well, I don't know where everyone stands on it. I mean, it's like a weird thing. Adoption's a weird thing, and having it happen twice was a little weird thing.
Yeah.
So, point being is that it just got weird because, like, I told my sister, I said, "Oh, this is what happened," and she said, "No, this is a mistake. This can't be right. This can't be true." And again, I'm not talking to my mom at this point because she's judgy. She's all judgy on me for leading a life of sin. Well, who's laughing now? Or her,
Mhm.
I'm not the one giving children away left and right. So, um, anyway, I don't really meet this sibling. It's a sister. So now I've got a brother and a sister. And they're both older than me, obviously, because it'd be weird for my younger siblings to be given away for adoption. Not that I wouldn't have enjoyed that, but point being is so we it's got to be a weird thing where yeah, that was just it. So I guess that's the whole thing. So it's a weird thing where the dynamics all changed because then my mother actually died, and which is
Rest
how
in
I met
peace.
the sister. This is great. This is like being in therapy. But but the
Mhm.
funny thing is my sister and I could have been raised from the womb together. We are so simpatico. It's crazy. People say they we respond to texts in the exact same way at the exact we get all the siblings get a text. We respond 4 hours later. The exact it's like we're both the exact same bad habits, good habits. We're both into classic, cinema and quality, blah blah blah,
Yeah.
fun stuff. She's a medical marijuana doctor. I love marijuana. It's perfect.
Nice.
So, but anyway, so we become best friends. I go to visit her all the time now, and yeah, and then it's become this whole thing where now Yeah, that's just it. But then it's a weird thing because now the brother has sort of withdrawn from the whole situation, which is weird, I guess. But it's weird when you have siblings who are given up for adoption because we talk about that a lot. And we both have different perspectives. And that's not what you would expect, I think, because for her, family is very important, which is ironic because she was raised by people that weren't related to her by blood, which I personally don't care about and have never. I feel I have family that are not blood, but I consider them family.
Yeah,
Um, so that was never a big deal for me. I always felt the opposite. I always felt when you're given up for adoption, at least back in those days, I don't know if it's this way now, they check the income of the people adopting and say what you want. That's the way the world works. If you got a lot of money, your life's going to be a little better than if you have no money. And if you're given up for adoption, you're going to a family that has money, guaranteed. And that's so there's one plus right there. And then everything that leads to that. Then there's the obvious stuff about not knowing where you come from and all that, which I guess would be unusual. But like I said, my grandfather just disappeared. And since he's the male, he doesn't. I do. He People do show up from 23andMe, but I don't know anything about him, and I don't know really anything about his family. So I guess I always thought that's how life is sometimes, you make your own family.
yeah,
So the irony of all of this is now I have a blood sister who is not only like me in my mannerisms and our love of playing pool and, hanging out and but we also are related by blood. So it's a real fun, weird thing. And this happens to me when I'm like in my 40s and I'm kind of entering, I'm thinking and I'm entering like a life where, it's time where all the fun's over and no changes. Everything is riding it out till this point from death till death.
yeah,
Maybe, you never know. But it's like, and then this happens and everything changes. It's like, because the other side of it is jokingly we talk, why didn't our mother tell us about her? When she told us she gave somebody up for adoption, why did she choose the boy?
and was she the oldest?
No, she was the youngest. So we were thinking
Mm,
that might be it. Um, the other thing too is we think, which sounds stupid and cheesy, but my mom was young when this happened, and we were thinking it happened with her high school sweetheart or a guy she really liked,
yeah,
probably wanted to be with, but he didn't want to be with her. That's what it sounds like, kind of maybe. He was like the star guy in their tiny little small town, and
hmm,
she was going off to college and blah blah. Point is that Kelly, the sister's father, was probably just some guy. This was back in like the 60s. I didn't realize this, but in the 60s, birth control wasn't sold at stores. You couldn't go to like the store and buy a rubber or a
yeah,
condom or whatever you want to say. So that was the thing. That being said, you didn't have to have sex all the time. It wasn't like,
yeah.
so it's a weird thing. Nothing against that. I have nothing, I don't judge at all. Uh, so it was weird, but it was weird because we didn't hear about the sister. So that was kind of a joke. That's a joke me and my sister always have, that we're the unwanted children because my mom, we're the bad kids in the group. But it's funny because it never really made any sense why you would do that, and it made such a reality. It kind of opened up this world of this old world where you would have it. My mother has a child. This is old school Catholic. I don't know if you know anything about Catholics. It's a weird. I mean, I shouldn't say that. I was
No, I get
confirmed.
it. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, they're very serious. The serious ones are.
Hmm.
This is like no meat on Friday stuff. So um, it's weird because you don't really think about it. It changed everything. I thought to myself, here's an example. When I was young, I went to college, but I kind of fucked around a lot. And I reached a point where I just finished college after just going a little bit here and there. And I finally finished, and it really didn't mean anything. My mom used to say to me to encourage me, oh, it took me a long time to get to college. I always thought it was because she was struggling like I was, but it wasn't. It was because she was having children. And it was weird things like that. Or, for example, she once told me about why her and my dad were sort of the same age, and they were met at the same period when they were going to Michigan State. Thing is my dad, he went in the army. When he got out of high school, he joined the army, and he was in the army for 3 or 4 years. And that's the amount of time she was going to school and having children. So when they got together, they were like the same age and at the same point, because they were kind of, so it's all these things that were kind of, I was led to believe were because of one reason, were actually because my mom was leaving school every 2 years to have children, which is also a
Wow.
weird concept because nowadays in modern life, and again, I do not judge, and adopted children do not seem to get, but everybody I know, I can't tell you, I have like 10, I can't tell you how many people I know right now without even thinking about it, where it's just they have the child together. Like all my friends, granted they might not still be with the mother, but they've, it's not like, they don't think like, oh, well, we're not married. We can't keep this child.
It was a different time back then, also, though.
It was a different time. And here to give a little extra perspective to that, at the time when this was all going down with the brother, I had a friend who had been given up for adoption. And coincidentally, at the same time when I was meeting my brother, he had been given up for adoption and met his family. They were very Catholic. And get this, they had him and they weren't married. They gave him up for adoption and then they got married and then they had 3 more children. So he has 3 full-blood brothers that are his full-blood brothers that were just raised in a completely different home. But he says he was raised in a very well-to-do family. None of his a birth family, and nothing against them. I didn't, I barely went to college, and but none of his. He said I wouldn't have gone to college had I not been adopted. I wouldn't have done this, and he admits, like, he'd never known. He didn't know what it would have been like. He wasn't attached to them emotionally. So it's very interesting. It's a
It wasn't.
fascinating thing. Because family is an important thing, but it's almost like it should be important for the important reasons, which is not family, but yeah, or whatever.
Yeah.
That being said, I do wish I would have had my adopted sister there to, you know, kind of run defense against this older brother who's a nightmare. But go ahead.
Damn. That sucks, man. Hopefully one day you guys could like chop it up again.
We're
Hopefully
all good. No, we're all good. When
it
I
just
say this, I'm saying this knowing they're probably not going to listen. My
yeah.
my older brother's like, and he's a luddite. He's not going to even know how to tune in. But it's more like he's it's more like it's fun. I love it. I personally love it. Perfect example, I move in with this brother. He's a big jack. His dad was different than me. He's much taller than I am. I'm not very tall, we'll be honest. For some, yeah, I would say I'm average if you take every human being on the world into consideration. I'm probably average. But he's very tall. Therefore, he's very athletic. He's played college basketball. I've I played with friends, and we had a basketball court in our neighborhood, stuff, blah, 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 but never anything serious. And he is like if we were raised together, we would have been opposites. He would have been beating me up every day. I
Mm.
was thrilled. I thought, all right, this is it. I never had that. I never had, what would that have been like having that older brother? Man, he could have taught me so much about so much. And I thought, let's just do this. Let's see what happens. So it was fun to see. And like I said, got close to my nieces, my sister-in-law, all great. then when he started to shy away, I thought this is just like a real family, because I got that in my real family. We got a cousin who doesn't talk to us. We got a this and that. Like I was saying, I was the black sheep in the family for a while. It was like
Yeah,
that's how it is. It's like that's the funny part of it. I always say, if you say I'm normal, you better be way not normal if you think you're normal. Because yeah. So
yeah. Okay. So that's a lot, bro. We
there you
didn't get
go.
into
I'm a
all,
good
we didn't.
content filler. If you ever
Yeah,
need a fill-in guest, get on it. I can fill up an hour.
yeah, definitely, definitely. We gotta get a hang you though. We gotta get your number or something. It's
Yeah,
hard to get a
yeah, yeah.
hold of
We'll do
you.
that. We'll do that. I'll send you. Yeah, I got you all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. Yeah, no, because well, what do you want to talk about? Is there anything you want to talk about anymore? I love talking about anything, and it
Now
is
you
funny
know how
because
you know how this goes. I usually just talk about you guys, man. See about your life and all
yeah.
that. But, you know, we
Well,
could
so
always
just
take shit about anything else also. But I want to
well,
get into
yeah,
some more stuff because so last time I don't think I got to ask you about if you've ever had any like UFO or paranormal experiences. But I wanted to ask you that because I know that you had like a near-death experience. Also,
yeah.
I want you to speak on some of that also.
Sure. Well, to be fair, let me say this. I'm really skeptical on a lot of that. Just
Yeah.
because, just because
Not
I've
necessarily alien, just stuff that you can't
everything. No,
explain.
no, I hear you.
Yeah.
Like an example is this. I once worked on a movie where we shot in a graveyard in Los Angeles, a very big graveyard, huge, miles wide, in the middle of the night. And there'd be often times where we'd be off on our own. And I always thought this would be the chance to hear something scary, and you are ready for it because it looked like it. But so I'm always ready for that stuff, and I've always prepared for it. What's more is this. My dad, he got sick. He was actually born with only one kidney. It's kind of a weird thing. He got sick and he was dying. It took him a while to die. So much so that we knew he was going to die. And
Yeah.
we had a conversation. I said, if you can come back and give me a message, do it. Just whatever. So we agreed, and I never got a message. So that being said, weird shit
Mm,
happens. And I have seen weird shit here and there. Nothing too major, but I do, I don't know. I don't know. If anything, I wonder about interdimensional
mm,
stuff or things like that.
yeah.
Or
I think yeah. So me, I feel like somewhat same path you're saying, like interdimensional also. I kind of think like time like all runs concurrent on the same like plane. And let's say all right. So you see how they say that, oh, there was a sighting in the 1880s of some sort of ship that looks like a plane nowadays, and then there's like, oh, there's this plane that saw like what looks like a old style town of San Francisco or whatever. You get it? I feel like sometimes like the veil in time just like gets
hmm,
thin, and then it's like maybe you saw this ghost, which to you looked like a ghost, but it was really just somebody living life in their time, but they're also simultaneously seeing you in a futuristic way, and they're like, whoa, what the fuck is going on?
you see, well, there's that. I think this. Here's the thing. I think because it's funny because I think I've thought that way a little, but sometimes I think because I always try to be my own worst enemy. I always try to like give myself the exact opposite argument, and then I try to prove myself wrong. And I think, well, what if this? Because this could be it. And it might sound stupid, but even before television, because there's nothing to do all day, but or you had before phones. Like it is possible somebody could have invented a glider or something like a glider. So
Mhm.
maybe, but then I start to think, but there is stuff. I was watching something, me and my girlfriend were just watching something. She loves all that kind of talk. She'll talk about that all day. We were watching something about it was about the Aztec symbols they put, those gigantic shapes that they built that look
Hmm.
like
Oh,
spiders and stuff.
Like the Nasdaq lines and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And those do look amazing. But the thing is, and I'm not saying this to be mean, but when I looked at those, I thought those almost look functional. Like they built those around where the soft ground where they could build it was. They kind of went with the flow of the ground, and that way they could be safe from invaders, or that's where the garden was and the rabbits couldn't get to it, or something like that. But
It's kind
it's
of
just
like a highway sign. Hey, this is
or
exit 55, or it's good to
exactly,
live.
exactly. It could have been anything, but who knows? Because the thing is that who knows how? I don't know. Because maybe they were that smart. And then when you just get way high above, because how could they have known what it would look? But that being said, it is weird to think. Well, see, that's the funny thing too. Because I remember last time. Yeah, yeah. The UFO thing is something I do follow a lot, and that is kind of weird. But who knows? I don't know. The problem with all of it is this. I don't know. The problem with all of it is it, I don't know. I guess there's got to be something to it, I guess. If there's anything to it, I would say this. I say that, sure, there might be something else, but I would think like we're the caterpillars right now. And
Hmm.
then when we die, that's hopefully we become something else. I don't,
That's
that's the thing. It's
possible.
like that's where you can go into anything.
Yeah.
My guess would be I would hope it would be very obvious, or not even better, but it's almost like a baby inside of you. Then you become the real baby. When you're the baby inside of you, you can hear people, and you can that
Mm,
can impact you,
I
but you
see what
don't
you mean.
understand a word they're saying. And maybe that's what we're like right now. And so we're seeing ghosts, and we're saying, ghosts, ghosts. We're gonna get out into this next dimension. We're gonna
Dimension,
be like,
yes.
oh, that was bloop blah blah.
Yeah, I saw something recently about that too, and it was like that eventually like humanity's gonna have to like realize like there's other things that are here that we just can't see. And I've had other guests that speak on certain topics. Like I had one guy, he talks about different dimensions, astral projection, reading energies, also like how like there was a weird like he actually will see like certain beings and all of that too, but he also like described like he went to a convention and he saw there was like this sales guy or a spokesman or whatever. Like he was a speaker, right? But he saw like his true form and it was kind of like demonic. Like he kind of looked like green, like like those caricatures of like let's say on the newspaper, like what how they over exaggerate a certain type of
Mm-hmm.
person and they'll make them look like demonic and also like you see the features of like greed and stuff like that. He said like he can also see like those type of things and it, but it's like you say is like there's different dimensions and there's like the higher self and the inner self. Like the he's from the Netherlands, so what every time like we talk
Oh
about
yeah.
it, describes it as like he will leave the body and then return to this body, and this body is the ego. That's what he will call it. But I'm just assuming like there's a lack of communication there because but that's why I always try to ask him like, yo, so is like your conscious like what I'm thinking in my brain is that what leaves into this other world? And he was kind of describing like it is that, but it's different because it feels like you, but not you.
See, I just see again, and it's just me being the skeptic. And the only reason I'm a skeptic is because, yeah, just because it's like but it is weird. And I do because I always think the thing I always used to say to people, and they used to get really angry at me for some reason. But I always would say, why is what would be the point of it all at all? There's got to be something. It seems like it'd be pointless to live and to have thoughts and to to be able to fall in love and then to be able to have your heart broken, to be able to feel like a champion and to be able to feel like a loser. Why do we have that happen to us in life throughout a long life? And there's an old Star Trek. not that I'm a big Star Trek guy, but there's an old Star Trek where they go to what they do is they pick a guy, they took Captain Picard and they put him on a planet, and suddenly he's in a planet where he's among these people, and he meets a woman and he falls in love, and they have a baby, and then he has the baby, and then the baby has babies, and blah blah, blah. And then he lives, and he lives to be like 80 years old, and then he dies, and then he's right back on the Enterprise. It was all a way for this alien race to learn how this life grew, but he learned how to play instruments that he still knew how to play because he learned how to play them, but that was that world, and now he was
Hmm.
back in his world. What if that's what this is? There's a Rick and Morty that does the same thing.
I just
uh,
saw I just saw a story. I guess it was like a Reddit post or something, and it was just like a confessional. Someone speaking about like there was this one time like he was chilling with his homeboys smoking weed, and then like he just felt like he just like blanked out, and he wakes up and he's in this home with a woman and a man, and they're saying like they're his brother and wife, and like he doesn't remember them, and like 4 years go by, he still doesn't remember them, and then like years go by, and then one day he just passes out like 8 years later, and he comes to at the same exact moment where he was at the homeboy's house smoking. And it's just like, what the fuck? And it's like, you never know.
Weird.
Yeah. Hmm.
Yeah, see now that, yeah, I don't know, I mean,
Life is complex. You never
well, the
know,
thing
man.
too is then you get into perception. Because what if,
If that was just like a profound delusion.
yeah, or the thing is like the way like old memories are fuzzy, like maybe that's because it never did happen. That's one of those, or who
Yeah.
knows? I mean,
So you know
because
how,
perception, it's our perception.
yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh
don't
yeah.
know. That's the whole thing. How do you know that you're
It's
that I'm
kind of
just
like,
like a figment of your imagination right now? Or is it
yeah, I mean,
vice
because
versa?
yeah, because that's what like science tries to push nowadays. They try to say like, oh, it's a simulation theory and all of that, and then you know it kind of gives credence to that because it's like, what if when we're seeing like these weird dreams and like these like not Mandela effects but like deja vu's and stuff like that. What if it's just kind of like, if I don't know if you've seen Westworld, like when they have the glitches and they see
Oh yeah, I love
the
it.
other lifetimes that they lived
Yes.
and stuff. You get it? So it's like, yeah.
Yeah. See, Westworld's a great example of that because they really dealt with this subject kind of. Yeah, yeah, they dealt with it a lot. That was really cool. Yeah, and that's just it. But yeah, I mean, it's weird because that's again, it's the perception. What is the real perception? But then it gets to the also the thing of it is. I mean, what would be the point? I guess, like for example, here's what I would say. If I let's say let's say that I'm some guy and I'm working as a plumber in this town, and at night I like to play basketball with my guys in my neighborhood. Okay, let's say I do that, and then let's say, bam, this was just all an illusion, and I'm really this other guy who lives in this other world, and this guy is he works at McDonald's and he likes to play video games. It's like, oh, so well, what's the point of either of them? I
Yeah.
mean, it's like the China doll effect. Are we all just
I think, you know, but I feel like we all play a role in like everything. That's why I kind of like I be so like well, I don't want to get into that, but
you wanna know what I was thinking? I'll tell you what I was thinking, and I smoked a
mhm.
lot of weed before I thought this, so maybe it was why. I was thinking maybe it's this, and I don't want to get all hippy trippy. But what if it's this? What if, because I think in life, in my life experiences, I feel like the people who have really stuck out were the people who really were genuine and who really wanted to make things better for everybody and things like that. People who had good hearts, all that kind of thing, that kind of shit. And That's the thing where I think like the trick. I think you want that, and maybe what it is when you're like that and you find this awakening, you find an inner knowledge, an inner peace, all that stuff that all the religions, all the philosophies talk about. You get that, and then when you've reached that, bam, you die. And since you've reached that, that means you're ready. And now you're going to go to the really crazy shit that you couldn't even dream of.
See,
But
I think
if
I
you're,
my
I
bad.
was going
Sorry.
to say, but that's the thing. But if you're a selfish asshole who only cares about yourself, you're going right back down until you do this over and over again. That would be everything. That'd be reincarnation. That'd be heaven and hell because life is hell. Come on.
Hmm. Okay, because what I was gonna say for that is like because I've had that thought too. Like, yeah, what if it's like once you reach your goal, it's like boom, that then you leave the earth or whatever, or like but how do we explain like the people that just like die freakishly that haven't really accomplished stuff in life, or just like little children that die early and stuff like that? You get it? It's kind of like that doesn't
Yeah.
really answer those questions, even though I
Well,
don't
what is
know.
accomplishing a lot in life, though? I mean, I
Yeah,
guess because if
because
you're
that your
happy, is
accomplishment.
it's a,
Yeah, yeah,
well,
right. And also like your accomplishment could just be like a lesson for somebody else also.
yeah. Well, that's just it. There's all kinds of things where, but again, I do feel like that is one of those things where, I mean, it's such an old cliche, but it's like, I don't know. I don't know. I guess I wonder why people, when I hear about them, I don't know. I just feel like who knows? I think about it's all crazy. I guess why would I don't know. I don't know why I'm just gonna say it. And this is gonna turn everyone off. But I really don't get the whole capitalism thing. And I know people love capitalism, but I don't get why you need to have $3 billion. You should not be able to own more than $1 billion. You'll never be able to use it. And if you do use it, you're irresponsible and you shouldn't have it anyway.
Hmm.
And it's like there's no reason for it. It's greed. These people just want everything. And why? And here's the thing, nobody says anything about that. You want to talk about philosophy and religion, everybody says that's bad. Mohammed, Jesus, everybody says it's bad to be greedy and selfish, everybody.
Hmm.
But that's the world we live in, where if I said Elon Musk is a fucking selfish prick who didn't do shit. He just got a bunch of money and invested it and made more money. But if I had that much money, I could have done that. He's not
Yeah.
clever. He shouldn't be rewarded for that. Jeff Bezos just took the Sears catalog and put it online. He shouldn't be set for life for that. And why do we live in a world where that's okay? And
I
people
mean,
starving to death and freezing to death is okay. Yet if I say what I'm saying, if I said, hey, everybody should get $3,000 a month, period. And then if they want to work for more, they can get it. Or let's say 5,000. You'd be like, you
yeah.
fucking commie. I'd be like, why is that bad? And why is yours better than that? Why is your and people say, well, because it rewards innovation. Well, it doesn't reward innovation. That's just been proven. And they say it doesn't promote innovation in, for example, the cure for cancer. How much money is there in curing cancer? Keeping it around is where the money is at.
Mhm.
So why don't people talk like that? Do you feel that way? I guess I know that sounds crazy saying this. I was watching something the other day and they were setting this up and it was on TV. I stay in hotels. I was watching commercial television. I never watched that. It's my into the real world, I guess. They were setting this thing up and I kept waiting for them to go, look at how big business is squashing. I remember it was like a commercial and it was this woman on a subway and she was working the two jobs and working the late shifts, and she had a child at home that was sick, and she was doing all of this, and it was for a medicine that like Advil PM or something, a medicine that you could take and you won't fall asleep. And I was saying, we live in a world now where this woman is being told what is important is that you stay awake when you work at this heartless corporation that doesn't give a shit about you and ignore your child and get enough sleep and drug yourself to get an unnatural amount of unsleep. And that's what's good because you need to work to get that kid out of the ghetto. That's the premise of the commercial. And I'm
Mhm.
thinking, fuck that shit. It's like, I don't know. I mean, it just seems stupid to me when people have so, I don't know. That just seems silly. And I know that's like such a tired old cliche, but so what? I'm going to keep that tired old cliche going on because I feel like no one says that anymore.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
I agree with a lot of things you're
do
saying
you
right
think,
now.
let me ask you this. Uh, and this is okay. And to be honest, and I don't judge anybody. I love everybody, and we're all good. And some of the everyone,
Yeah, shoot,
we're all
shoot.
just trying. We're
Yeah,
all
yeah, yeah.
trying, and we all think we know our way. We're all good. So, but I guess, do you feel like your major motivation in the things you do in your daily life, a major part of that is spent towards working towards a goal of a better life that is not the life you have now, but, and maybe not a dream, like you're not going to become, ultra rich and famous or something, but it's this dream of a little better. And maybe, I don't know. See, that's just it. I hate even saying that because I
I
feel
mean,
like
yeah.
bad making it.
I For
Yeah, I
me
guess I,
personally, yeah, me like now that like before when before I had a son, like I used to think I did have those like yeah, the biggest and riches, and then like but like over time, like I feel like I've always kind of been like I've thought those things, but never really like fully like really like wanted those things. You get it? Like I've always kind of been like a subtle guy, like like a chill guy. Like I'll get like I'll get like materialistic stuff here and there, but I've never been into buying it like uh, large amounts. Like I'd rather thrift it or get it on sale.
but
Like
well, let me say to that, no, that's another thing too. And maybe that's why, I'll tell you what, actually, that might be why this is so relevant to me at this point in my life. Because what it is no, I've always kind of been a starving artist all my life. I used to be a musician. I moved out to LA, worked in film, and
hmm
moved around working in film and music and stuff. Always been a starving artist. And I've reached a point now where, because of my experiences, I've developed an income that's steady and decent. I know that I'll be able to pay my rent, which I can't tell you how many years where it was month to month if I was going to be able to get it. So, having been there and now being here, I see that. I see how unfair it is that I had to struggle so much when somebody could have said, in any number of cases, this, and this, and made everything different. But whatever, that's life. The other thing I see, though, is how I am still just at the bottom of the barrel. I'm still in the lower class of income. I just don't have children and I'm not married. But it's like, and I look at that and then I see people who really have the money. And that's the thing. It's like they live in a different world. And this is where I get all like, let's get torches and start taking them down. But they live in a world where they don't want us to know they exist because they don't think like we think or I think or anybody. I don't want to talk for anybody else, but I do feel like I talk to a lot of people every day from all over, all walks of life and all over. And, I agree. We should want to work towards better things for our family and stuff, but man, you got to spend time with the family too. That's the point of having it. And when you get to a world where you're being told, hey, you can either spend 2 hours a day with your children and provide them with all that they need, or spend 4 hours with them and they're going to go hungry. That's when I feel like, whoa, 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 we've gone overboard as a society here.
yeah, you know
But hey,
that is the dilemma though. Is like you want to provide. like that, the stability for the family and all that. But in being like out of the home, you fuck up because it's like you're missing out on those moments, and it's like you feel bad, and it's like that in itself causes like fights and or just like resentment, not even making a child or you for yourself, like you just on yourself, and like, you gotta. It's just the whole dynamic of like the capitalist system. It does hurt the
It,
family, but
well, here's the
it
thing
just
I think about
depends.
though. Well, but people say, I don't know. I guess like when I was younger, people would say,
But
well, it's better
well,
than com. Oh, go on.
no, so because this is something like I kind of discussed like with some of my like I have this one buddy that I talk all the time. He's from India. He feels like all Americans are just this like what you're trying to say, like we're all like these money hungry. We want it, social media, we want the jewelry, everything, you get it? But bro, for the most part, like every day to day American is just some regular guy. They just want to get by, like we were saying in the beginning. We're just trying to live a decent life. I think most Americans just want to live a decent life. If you had the chance to be super rich, who wouldn't do that? But then that's where like when the money comes, that's where the changes happen. Because then there you could be
Yeah, but the thing
corrupted.
is, see, the money's all coming from up top, and so and they don't care about the money. It's weird. I had a guy on, God, it might have been a year or two ago, and he was from, and he's really nice. He's from Nigeria, and he was talking about the phone scammers.
Uh,
And he was saying, it was really interesting. He was saying, uh, you talk to these, and he might, I didn't ask if he did it. He said he knew people that did it, but he said it from a way where he was familiar with it. And I'm not
mhm.
judging. Hey, he literally said, these people have families. They need to make money. They are in a situation where they are unable to make money. And this has provided them a way where they are making money and they are desperate. And I know when you come to desperate times, you will take desperate measures. And he said, in saying this, he said, I've witnessed this and I know they don't want this. And they will say, they will hear people warn them and say, hey, this and that, but they need it. And he said, so when I see that, I'm like, well, hey, it's like one of those things where they know it's bad. They don't want to do it. They just must really need it. So, and I was like, well, yeah, I can see that. I'm sure if I was being scammed by them, I wouldn't feel that way. But the
Yeah,
point is why, again, bigger picture, why are they being put in that situation? And again, then you can be like, okay, get back in your drum circle because, yeah, that doesn't, you're not going to live in that world. But we've gone overboard, I feel like. We've gone way too far in the other direction where nobody gives a shit about anything but making money or even like making the world a better place. If you go out there and fucking
but
make the world a
they
better
are,
place
bro.
and can prove it, you should get like fucking $100 a day. Period.
That's true, but I mean, Mike, I feel like there are people out there that want like there's plenty of people that think like you, bro. And there's plenty of people that are like unplugging from the system, going off grid. Like that's a new thing.
Yeah,
Even like
that
a
ain't
bunch
going
of young.
nowhere.
It's not because eventually they're gonna come
Plus,
back,
I
but
love the internet and I'm not going off the grid. I want to
yeah.
bring the peace and love to the city, I guess,
Hmm.
or whatever.
But
Yeah, I know. That's just it. It's a boring topic because you can't really say anything. I guess it's
not
one of
even
those
this.
things.
Cause it's just that because we could go in on this like all day, but me personally, I feel like I don't think it's that black and white like where people like are so like there's definitely a trend though, as like the younger generation gets older and like we're gonna see the influences of like all this social media stuff like put it in your face like keeping up with the Joneses is like at an all-time high. You get it? So it's just like we're definitely gonna see all of that. But let's get
That's just
into.
it.
I don't know how much more time we have, but I want to
Oh
get
yeah.
into some of your wild Hollywood stories, man. Talk to me about like all your
Sure,
time
I'll
in
give you some Wild
Hollywood.
Howard stories. I don't know. I don't even know what I said last time because I don't want to repeat myself. Uh,
Well, I think you said something about. Why am I thinking about Flavor Flav? Oh, you work with Flavor
Flavor
Flav, I
Flav.
think.
Oh yeah, Flavor Flav. Yeah, Flavor. Oh, it's Flavor Flav, yeah, the first that was my first
Oh,
introduction into film. Yeah. Was
sorry,
it Jones?
no,
Okay.
there was I think the last, because I think the last story you had said, and you didn't get to talk on that too much, was something about Bill Cosby. I
Bill
remember.
Cosby. Well, we did talk about that a little. That was so much film. That was something about LA that was weird. Yeah, I'll tell you why. Because, well, Bill Cosby, when did that all go down? See, now nobody knows because nobody listening even remembers when Bill Cosby. But I moved to LA a long time ago. It was like right when I got out of, well, yeah, I kind of like dropped out of college and I moved out to LA. And this would have been 2002 or three. It was a million years ago. But I moved out there, and this was right. Well, what it was I was talking to somebody about Bill Cosby, and they were talking about how he raped a bunch of women and how he would drug women and rape them in a way where you would have thought they were talking about who won the game last night. Not that they approved of it, but it was just one of those things that happened and was going to happen. And I
Yeah,
said, Bill Cosby, Bill Cosby from the Bill Cosby show. I just couldn't believe it. And no, yeah, that was true. It's true. And and it was weird because I was new to Los Angeles and I lived in Detroit, but it was a thing where I thought, how could you hide that? Wouldn't that be everywhere?
yeah.
Um, and then, of course, we all know how that turned out. Harvey Weinstein, I worked for him while I worked out there. And
Oh shit.
I had a friend who he worked for one of his companies. He worked for a band apart. Quentin Tarantino's company, which was under the umbrella of Weinstein Productions or something. And so we were in the same building. I was actually in an elevator with Harvey Weinstein, and he didn't molest me. So
Mhm.
I can only go by what I've experienced. I'm only telling you. And to be honest, no, I'm just joking. I am totally joking because he's a scumbag, and I'm sure he was the worst person alive. I told you about the my roommate, right? Last time I told you about the secret stairway into the dressing rooms.
No. Oh
Ooh,
yes,
this
yes,
is
yes, 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 from
yes,
the Hollywood studios.
yes.
Yes.
And see, and I gotta say, I don't know if you're watching it. It's all coming out now, and there you go. So P Diddy, see,
Well, yes.
it all comes
Yeah,
back to Diddy.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
but
speak
isn't
on
it
the
funny?
speak. You speak on the secret tunnels, because that episode was it was audio only, so it's not even up on YouTube yet.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, yeah,
Well, see,
yeah.
that's a situation where my roommate worked at Sunset Gower Studios. That used to be Capitol Columbia Pictures. They
Hmm.
made everything. They had everybody watch a movie. They're the one. They made everything. Um, and the she worked for the vice president or the president. She worked for the president. In his office, in the corner, if you peeled up the carpet, there was a stairwell that a very narrow stairwell that went
And this
down.
was Columbia Studios, right?
Yes, yes. Well, it's Sunset Gower Studios now. It used to be
Okay.
Columbia Pictures, but now it's called Sunset Gower Studios. It's still a studio. That's always really weird because the way it used to work would be you have Warner Brothers Studios where they make Warner Brothers, or better yet, you have ABC Studios where they shoot ABC TV shows, and then
Hmm.
those would go on ABC TV. But now TV is gone, and with streaming, studios can pop up anywhere and that be any network. So it's all very different now. Then you have cable television, et cetera, et cetera. So it's all a little different. It all bleeds in together. So you'll have Warner Brothers movies, which is one thing, but then you'll also have Warner Brothers Studios where a Paramount movie might be shooting at Warner Brothers Studios because they have the landscape they want. It's a nightmare. It deserves to die. It's going to die soon. How about that? Do you think that? I feel, well, anyway. So, anyway, let's get back to the guy with the thing.
I don't think the film, maybe the traditional. film
It's
industry
going,
too.
yeah.
Yeah. But all right, yeah, let's get back to the guy with the
So quick thing. What it was long story short, there was a secret stairwell that was in the corner that led right down to the dressing room of where the starlet would be at. So it could be somebody like
Marilyn
I don't even
Monroe
know.
or
Marilyn Monroe, perfect example.
yeah,
Marilyn Monroe's down there. And what that means is Marilyn Monroe goes in there, locks her door. And back in those days, they had an entourage. The entourage is outside. The owner of the studio, a white man, is going down, essentially raping this woman. Nobody knows because his office door is closed, her dressing room door is closed, and then he goes back up. So there you go, people. It was that systematic. It was built in. Construction workers built that so that they would have that option. I mean, say what you want about how shitty the world is, and it's shitty, and it's shitty. But I like to think I'll tell you, the thing that keeps me going. I like to think it's getting a little better
yeah.
than it was back then, you know? Although then this Harvey Weinstein shit comes up, and I think, well, I guess not. And now Puff Daddy's back up. I was like, oh, I guess not. But the thing too, I will say this: two things, and I don't know. I mean, just is my 2 cents on the matter of my experience living in LA. Working on movies is weird because you have to be free. My girlfriend and I were just talking about this a few hours ago. When a person is doing a scene where they have to have a dead relative, they have to act, they have to be free. If they're making love, they have to be free. People get weird. You have to learn to accept weird people. That's part of life out there. And the other part of it too is it's a shithole. Don't move out. Don't get involved. Don't get involved with Harvey Weinstein. I know you want to be a star, but you're going to have to accept the fact that you cannot be a star.
Yeah, man. Okay, so but so you never had everything was just whispers for you, like you never witnessed anything like
Oh,
overt.
wow. That's I can't.
I know the you said that you did say that the one of the last films that the guy was a pretty shitty guy. I don't know if you said that he has some allegations put up against him or not.
Oh
You
no,
did
he
not.
was a weirdo. He was a
Yeah,
weirdo.
you didn't give that name
Um,
up. I remember I had to search it up.
yeah, no, he was a weirdo. It's always that way. It's a strange industry because, for example, um, if they wanted somebody who looked like, I don't know, if they want a certain look, I'm trying to think of two actors that don't look anything like each other. That so if you wanted to get like I don't even know. I don't know actors'
Well, you
names.
kind of look like Jim Brewer.
Sure, there you go. Well, there you go. Oh, geez, that's kind of so Jim Brewer. So if you want to get Jim Brewer, you got to move. Okay, perfect example. Okay, you got a thing where it's going to be Chris Pratt, but Chris Pratt's not available. You get Jim Brewer. It's like Jim Brewer ain't gonna pull it off. Well, Chris Pratt's a bad example because he used to look like Jim Brewer back on his TV show days. Point being, let's pick who is Ken? Who is the Ken in that Barbie movie? That
I
guy.
forgot his name, yeah, but he's a new
Yeah,
guy. Yeah,
because that guy's like a Ken doll. He's like oh, he. So you say we want that guy, and then Jim Brewer shows up. You're like, you're too fat. You don't look good. You don't have perfect teeth. It's like, wow, that is like you could never go into a restaurant. Like you couldn't leave right now, go to a restaurant, walk up to somebody and say that. They'd pay, you'd be horrible. But in Hollywood, this is a movie. We need you to look like this. And unfortunately, you don't. And so think about that. That's the framework for this honesty. Now apply that to I want a sexy woman. Oh, okay. Now we get to I want a sexy woman who's going to seduce Brad Pitt. Oh, okay. Let's go out to dinner tonight and talk about this role. You still want the role, right? Oh, well, there you go. Does she want the role? Because I mean, and she's not at fault. I would never dream of saying that. But I feel like a more seasoned actress who's been in Hollywood for a few years will be like, oh, this is
Like,
where I'm
mhm,
making the choice because
yeah.
this is going to end one of two ways.
Mhm,
So it's rough. It's a horrible thing. They prey on people's dreams. It's horrible. I think it's going to die. I hope it all dies out. I'm looking forward to that. I think shit
mhm.
like this and TikTok and all that, we're going to wipe all that stuff away.
So, okay. So you don't have to say what you saw, but tell me what was the like who was involved, or what was the craziest shit you seen in Hollywood? Gotta
Oh,
get
wow. I don't know. Was it the
uh,
crazy?
other than just like
Uh,
some wild sex parties. That's coming now. Like that's
well,
just
that's all
the
I can.
norm.
What could you see? There's really nothing really that crazy. It's all, uh, that's just it. There's really nothing that crazy. What would be crazy?
Yeah.
People get crazy. I guess the thing is it'd probably be crazy,
Well,
for
have you ever witnessed like those advances by like the execs towards like the
yeah, well, that's just it. There you go. It's rough. It's a rough world because it would be like that. You get somebody, I don't know, you get somebody who is like that, and I'm guessing I'll tell you this. Here's what I'll say. Yeah, it's rough. It's I don't know. I remember when I first moved out to LA, I was working for Quentin Tarantino's company. I was working for Harvey Weinstein's company, and the woman who was the receptionist for Quentin Tarantino and Harvey Weinstein, we went to this event that I got invited to that was a party. And we all went to this party, and she had to walk to her car, and it was in Hollywood. And I said, oh, I'll walk to your car, being a gentleman, because I'm a gentleman. Uh, and I walked her to her car and got her to her car, walked in, hugged her goodbye, and I went back to the party. You would have thought that I think the fact that I didn't like whatever, she freaked out. And when
so
I
wait,
went
wait,
back
wait.
to my, she kind of was like she was very pleasant, but then the day afterwards she was like, you are the nicest person I've ever met. You're so nice, the way you walked me back to my car. And I thought, well, it's not that bad a neighborhood, to be honest with you, and blah blah blah. But I think what she was saying is,
That you didn't take any
I work for
advances.
Harvey Weinstein. I'm so happy you didn't rape me.
Yeah.
And so it was the way she was just going on, and I thought, oh, I'm from, I don't
Just a
know. I mean,
regular
I'm not,
guy.
again,
Yeah.
yeah, I just thought, well, come on. And it was such a weird thing, but it was funny. We're still friends, I think, somewhere, Facebook or somewhere, one of the old ones. But it's fun, but it's cool, but it was one of those things where,
Also, even the regular workers were getting into.
yeah, it was one of those things where it was understood. And it was almost like, and I don't want to say, but it's one of those things where my roommate out there, my roommate in LA, she was like a debutante. She was just sort of what
The
would you
one
call
who's
it?
did you say her dad was a big time exec?
Yeah, he was a big time exec at one of the major networks. And he managed people's career and get people started, got some of the biggest names in Hollywood started and managed them. And she just grew up in that environment. So, for example, what was it? She went to she was carpooled. I remember she used to carpool to school with a guy who is in the Alien movie, and he's in a bunch of movies. He's in the MASH movie. I forgot his name. He's in a million movies. Uh, but she would tell stories about how he would drive them to school, and it was like these are major celebrities that you talk about. She went to prom, I think, with Dick Clark's son. She was childhood friends and supposedly lost her virginity to George Clooney. I
What
can
the
neither
fuck?
confirm nor deny that, but they were childhood sweethearts. And they were raised
Who
in
was
Georgia
this?
together. She was my roommate out there.
No, but I mean, yeah, you never told me her name. What was it? What was the dad's name? Or you just
Well, the
If you said it
dad's
right.
name was, we'll say Jerry Hellard, I guess. If I get sued, life goes
Jerry
on.
Heller? That name sounds super familiar.
Well, I don't know if he's a nobody, really. He had one of those weird jobs where he was like chief financial executive of ABC, which what does that even mean? Because he was
He was
involved
the
with
manager of
everything.
NWA.
Exactly. He was one of those
Yes.
guys. I'll give you an example. Uh, I'll give you an example. He was friends with I forgot the guy's name, George Clooney's dad. They were friends in Georgia or Kentucky. These people are all these backwood hicks out in Kentucky. They moved to LA, and George is still out in Kentucky. And Jerry says, "Hey, George, move out here. I'm managing an ABC. I'll set you up with a contract." George moves out there, gets, I'm guessing it probably maybe 150 grand a year, which back in those days was like a million. And
Mhm.
what he's on, he's on like this roster on ABC. So what that means is they come up with a show. They had a show called Girlfriends. They needed a guy to play the bartender. George Clooney's the bartender. Show gets canceled after 6 episodes. Who cares? Then they got a show called This on, canceled. No big deal. Then a show called Facts of Life comes on. He's on that. Bam.
I
That
know
show
that.
lasts. That show ends. No big deal. Blah, blah, blah. Show called Roseanne comes up. Bam. He's on this contract where he's making this money. And those days are gone. You used to get signed on to be with a contract, but that was all set up. He was basically handed the golden key by her father, who could do that. He could do that with a number of people. And it was that world for
So he was involved in the music industry and in production.
no, this was just the film industry.
Okay.
Uh, he was just getting rid of that. It was things like that. Then there's little things like you would, it's just a way of working people in. It's almost, again, I hate to sound bad about it and angry about it, but it's become this thing where they're obnoxious rich kids and they know they're in the circle. All these nepotism actors now, it's kind of coming out now, all these actors who are the children of the grandchildren. So it's always been that way, but it's one of these things where it's just a horrible system, and it was meant to be an art form. And it's, you watch a movie like Taxi Driver or something where you're like, this is a beautiful work of art, where the set designer, the actors, the
Hmm.
extras, everybody put their heart and soul into it. And it's a piece of art that, and those days are gone. You'll never get that again. You're going to get shitty Marvel movies till the industry dies.
Word, man. It's just all the movies nowadays are just so predictable. I can't even watch television anymore. Everything is
Yeah,
so predictable and it's
it's
just like tacky.
horrible.
Yeah.
Or you watch
Acting is horrible. The new
the act.
Godzilla. The
Oh,
CGI was amazing though.
yeah, that's just it. The CJ is
Hmm.
amazing. The problem with that though is it's funny because I watched a movie, God, last night that was bad CGI, but I loved it. Was something, but I loved the movie. God, what was it? I think it was Frankenhooker. It's a great movie if anyone gets a chance to see it. But And I thought, this is so creative and so clever. I don't care. I loved it. You watch a movie where it's all that CG, like Godzilla. It's like, who gives a shit anymore? It's all, I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's rough, but we got to be positive. It'll get better. It's going to get better. We got to get an avenue for voices to get out there and kind of start. I feel like that's it. That's why I get down on money. I think we need to have like culture starting to brew where we're starting to kind of, and if we're only thinking about money, it's not gonna be good. It's gonna be shit.
Mm.
But if we're doing it by, that's where good cultures come from. People who are in it
For
together.
the
It's where
passion,
everywhere. So
yeah.
we'll do that. We'll work on that. We'll talk about this. We'll get to talk about this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So, anything else you want to share with the audience before we wrap it up?
No, no, no. Yeah, just Yeah, I don't know. Who knows what people like anymore? I hate self-promotion. It's the worst thing in the world. But the fact of the matter is I do have a podcast that's a very psychedelic, unusual podcast that I put a whole lot of work into. And I am experimenting with sound and audio from all sorts of variety of sources. I have, now that we have video, I found miniature cassettes
Mm.
in the secondhand stores. I have strangers answering machines from the 1980s, and I put that to
Nice.
music on my podcast along with other things.
Wow.
And it's all done for the fun of listening to that and thinking, man, this is the answer machine, seeing where life is at. That's what I think. I don't like the star and fame. You know who I like? I like the regular people. I don't like celebrities. I like the guy who fucking gets up and fucking
Yeah.
hates his job, because that's what I'm like. Yeah, no shit, I'm with you.
Yeah,
But yeah,
man.
so yeah, that's the episode, the Shotgun Mike Hostettler show. It's been on the air for a billion years. So, and yeah, and thank you for inviting me. It's really nice. It's always fun. I don't go on a lot of podcasts, and I love it, as you can tell. So.
Nah, yeah, definitely, bro. I mean, I'm definitely gonna have you on again because we gotta get into more stuff. We didn't get
Oh
into
yeah,
like all the deep shit, like your near death experience and then
we'll
like
get into that.
the passing of your
There's a
ex and
bunch
all
of
of
stuff.
that.
I was thinking
Yeah,
about, that's good. We'll get good
yeah,
stuff in. That's the teaser. You just wait. The next one's going to be
yeah.
way
And
trippier.
we'll get it in depth. I'll do some more research. I'll dig into your IMDb and see who you actually worked
Oh,
with.
sure. I don't, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that's good too. That's always fun.
because we did that
That's
last time, but this next time we'll work
Well,
on
it's funny because a movie just came on. I watched. It's rare I ever see. I never see movies I've ever worked on. That's the weird thing. And a movie came on that had Kevin Hart in it that I worked on, and I always remember it because it had Donnell from the Dave Chappelle show.
it.
That was an episode where there's a whole thing with him. But and I always remember that. But it's funny because
With
Leslie
Donnell.
Jones was on it, and she was a nobody, and I didn't even know who she was at the time. And she was super fun and super cool. And it's so funny because we watched that, and my girlfriend's like, "Oh shit, you worked with her?" I was like, "Shit, I worked with all the celebrities." But it's funny because I totally forgot about that, and that led to all sorts of, yeah, no, there's all sorts of things. And yeah, so you look into that and you might see an actor and be like, man, I heard that guy was crazy, and I'll be like, yeah,
Yeah,
he was. I'll tell you the story.
yeah. Well, I mean, next time we definitely gotta talk about Donnell Jones a little.
We will, yes,
Yeah.
he was cool, he's cool, he's super cool, he's super cool, he's a nice guy. I don't want to put him down.
Okay,
he
good.
he had a little, he likes to have fun, a little too much sometimes, maybe, but hey, it's okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But
Yeah,
but yo,
but
just
cool,
like
man.
that,
Thank you so much, and yeah, I'll talk to you soon.
yeah, we'll do, man. I appreciate you stopping by again. Everybody go make sure to check out all Mike's stuff. It's gonna be down in the description below. Make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe. And just like that, we out of here. Peace out.
Peace out.